Step 2 now is supply and demand. So we're using our same example. So this is what this is another concept I want to discuss, right? So supply and demand, right? Every market that you trade, every single market that you look at comes down to supply and demand. Whether you accept it or not, or like it or not, every market you see comes down to basic supply or demand. Right, so that is literally how every market works. So the reason we had the market selling off here, for example, is because we had an oversupply. Right, we had an oversupply. So if you're taking a short trade, for example, so we break kind of below this zone over here, we have our stops, let's say above here, and we're targeting down here. So this is there's an oversupply over here. It's not a difficult concept to understand. There's an oversupply in all these regions which are causing the market to tank. Right, that is the reason why the market moves down in the first place. There's no other reason for it. And so if I show you on the footprint charts, right, so you can't tell that there's an oversupply which caused this short on the S&P 500, right, or ES futures. But when you again it's execution versus ego, right? Even looking at it, right, you can begin to see, wow, we had this huge wick over here, right? This massive wick, right? Yes, it's a little body or whatever you want to call it, doji or whatever name people call it. But the truth is, you're executing based off buyers and sellers and the interaction between buyers and sellers. There's no other way to get around this, right? In 2026, there's no other way to get around this. So I'm just going to put the numbers for you so we can see. So they're the numbers. And we want to kind of dive into what's going on here, right? So we can see this small body, huge wick, right? We can see buyers at this area. So what we see is break and retest, right? Even here, we see this retest, we see aggressive buy orders, right? If we just kind of zoom in, aggressive buy orders, blue delta, same over here. Blue delta, right? So we see aggressive buy orders with no real reward, right? So that's what creates the downside moves. So once again, I'm going to ask the question, are you executing on your ego or are you executing the markets, right? That's a rhetorical question. I'll let you decide. So if we go back to the markets now, an oversupply in any market results in lower prices, right? And a greater demand, if demand outstrips supply, then we will have higher prices. And so if you are trading without knowledge of supply and demand, or without at least acknowledging that supply and demand drives prices up or down, then you are in the wrong industry, right? You are in the wrong industry. And so we're going to keep going back to what we discussed, right? So sweeps do not create upside moves, right, or downside moves. Market structure shifts don't do that. Fair value gaps don't do that. Support and resistance with random lines don't do that. Trend lines don't do that. None of these things do that.